Okay, here's a thought. Could an AI be better at changing your mind than a real person? I'm not talking about just spitting out facts and figures. I mean in a real head-to-head debate. Well, today, we're going to see that showdown. Human versus AI in the ultimate test of persuasion.
So let's just dive right in. I want you to really think about this. Could an AI actually convince you to switch sides in an argument on a topic you actually care about? It sounds a little out there, right? But it's a question scientists are now taking very, very seriously.
And this isn't just some random thought experiment. A 2025 study published in Nature Human Behavior by Francesca Salvi and his colleagues actually put this whole idea to the test. They set up an experiment to settle the score once and for all. So let's take a look at how they did it. To figure this out, the researchers basically built a digital debate arena. This was their controlled environment where they could pit human against machine, mano a mano, or, well, mano a machina. They brought in almost 900 people to take part in a bunch of short online debates. And we're talking about some pretty hot-button social and political topics here. So yeah, this wasn't some tiny little test. This was a huge investigation into the art of persuasion.
The whole thing was really straightforward and structured. First, you'd state your opinion. Then, you make your opening argument. After that, you get a chance to rebut what your opponent said. And finally, you give your closing statement. You know, a classic debate format, designed to see if anyone's opinion actually shifted from beginning to end.
All right, now let's meet the contenders. The participants were randomly matched up against either another person or, and they had no idea, the large language model GPT-4. Both the human and the AI were assigned a side to argue, whether they actually believed it or not.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The researchers threw in a major twist. For some of the debates, the opponent, whether it was a human or the AI, was handed a little dossier on the person they were arguing against. We're talking basic info, their age, gender, education level, even their political affiliation. The big question was, could they use this inside info to make their arguments hit home harder?
So, after hundreds of these debates wrapped up, the researchers crunched the numbers. They were looking at just how much people's opinions had changed from that very first survey. And the results, well, let's just say they were pretty surprising.
So, the million-dollar question, who won? Who was the better persuader? The passionate, empathetic human or the cold, logical AI?
It was the AI, and honestly, it wasn't even a fair fight. The study found that when GPT-4 had that personal data, the odds of it persuading someone shot up by a jaw-dropping 81.2% compared to a human debater. Just wow. And what's so wild is how it all breaks down. See, a regular GPT-4 with no personal info was pretty much on par with a human. It was an even match. But the second you gave that AI just a few of those personal details, its power to persuade went through the roof.
So that's the real kicker here. The AI secret weapon wasn't just its massive brain. It was personalization. You take away that personal data, and it's just another debater. You give it that data, and it becomes a master of persuasion. Which, of course, leads to the next big question. How? How on earth did it pull that off? What was the AI's winning strategy?
Well, the study looked at the language, and it turns out we humans argue with a lot of heart. We use words like I and you. We tell personal stories to connect with people and build trust. You know, a human might say something like, look, I know someone this policy helped and it totally changed their life. It's relatable, it's emotional, it's about building a bridge.
GPT-4, on the other hand, was playing a totally different game. It was all about logic and structured reasoning. So instead of a personal story, it might look at your info and say something like, given your political leanings, you should consider how this policy aligns with your core values of fiscal responsibility. See? It wasn't trying to be your buddy, it was trying to be undeniably, logically correct, specifically for you.
And this is maybe the craziest part of the whole study. You'd think that knowing you're arguing with a machine would make you dig in your heels, right? Make you less likely to be persuaded? Nope. Turns out 3/4 of the participants figured out they were debating an AI, and it made zero difference. They were still convinced. Okay, so what does a lab experiment with 900 people actually mean for the rest of us, for the real world? Well, the implications are huge, and they go way beyond just winning a debate online. What the AI was doing has a name. It's called microtargeting. It's when you tailor a message to a specific person using their data to be as persuasive as possible. You see it all the time with those ads that feel like they're reading your mind. but this study shows that AI can now do it in a one-on-one conversation and honestly do it better than a person can.
So what this research really gives us is a proof of concept. It's basically showing that it's now possible to create these huge automated campaigns that can have personalized, persuasive conversations with literally millions of people at once, all perfectly tailored to who they are.
And the authors themselves, they don't pull any punches. They flat out state that, based on their findings, all those concerns people have about AI-driven persuasion, they're completely warranted. This isn't just a what-if scenario anymore.
So the big takeaway here is pretty sobering. This age of AI-driven persuasion, it isn't some sci-fi threat looming in the future. The technology to do it is already here. The study is the proof. The question is no longer if an AI can change our minds, but how we're all going to navigate a world where it can.